Welcome to the Merlin Crypto Market Update located on the X app. I'm Abs, the host and senior engagement officer at Merlin, and today's episode features a replay from our Merlin X Spaces. Every other Tuesday at 8:30 p.m., you can catch us live on the X app at Get Merlin Crypto. We dive into captivating discussions about cryptocurrency and blockchain technology with our engaged audience, special guests, and the founders of Merlin. Please note, these spaces can sometimes experience technical hiccups and end suddenly. It's all part of the experience. Thanks for tuning into the Crypto Market Update, proudly brought to you by Merlin, the smartest way to track your crypto.
All right, everyone, thank you so much. This is Merlin Twitter Spaces Attack on Crypto. Is there hope? We're going to give it a few more moments to get some of our other speakers up to the stage. We have our co-host, Abs, or Abdullah. He is from the Good Morning Crypto Show. He is also our engagement specialist here for Merlin. So we will get started momentarily. So again, we're waiting for a few more speakers to come up. So listen to some sweet jams while we get this all prepared for you. All right, everyone, my name is Jeremy Quintanilla. I am your moderator for this Merlin Twitter Spaces Attacked on Crypto with none other than Abs from the Good Morning Crypto Show, also our engagement specialist here at Merlin. We are super, super excited for you to be a part of this. We will get started right now. Abs, how are you feeling this evening?
Amazing. And I want to start off by saying happy Father's Day to everyone out there. Of course, I'm not a father, so I'm not celebrating myself, but I was sure to spend time with my dad today. So shout out to Johnny Crypto and Tony and anyone else who's a father. I guess that's a great place to start. And Johnny, how you doing?
Doing great, Abs. It's a beautiful night. It was a beautiful day. Got to spend it with my father and with the kids, and it was an awesome day. And now I'm just chilling out on the hammock, lakefront. It's beautiful. Happy Father to everybody out there, Father's Day. Hopefully you all got to enjoy time. It's a special day.
And it's a special day, too, because we got Tony Edwards joining us, and I'm excited to hear from you on a lot of these topics. I'm going to give you guys a rundown of our topics for today, and then we'll kick it around the group to have a group discussion. So the biggest news from this weekend, besides the VAX conversation with Joe Rogan, is that BlackRock filed for an ETF, and they filed for 556 ETFs before. Almost all of them, except for one, have been approved, and we're going to break that down tonight. We also had the judge signing off on Binance and SEC to make a deal to keep customer funds in the United States, which is exciting. And just because Tony's here, we're going to talk a little bit of Gary Gensler and Elizabeth Warren. As Elizabeth Warren's leading an anti-crypto campaign across America, a new bill has been filed to remove Gary Gensler from office. So a lot of exciting stuff happening this weekend, regardless of Father's Day. But Tony, how you feeling? And thanks for being here.
I'm doing great. Thank you guys for having me. Excited to talk about crypto and all that's going on.
And as right on cue, Jeremy, we lost my co-host, Johnny Crypto, just as we get started. I'm excited to break down this BlackRock news, and hopefully we can get Johnny back in here while I kick it around to him. Maybe Jordan could come up here as well. It'd be great to hear from Jordan Harry. BlackRock's record of ETFs approval, 575 to 1 so far with the SEC. And a lot of this has to do with the relationships behind the scenes, which I'm sure, Tony, you're going to be speaking to later. BlackRock's record of United States Securities Commission approving ETFs is 575 to 1. The only ETF that was not approved by BlackRock, the company sought permission to create actively managed ETFs that would require disclosures on a daily basis. So they just couldn't handle the workload there. Tony, just like to start broadly, there's a lot going on in the crypto space. It's been a couple weeks since we've talked. So what's on your mind, and what do you think of the BlackRock news?
I think the BlackRock news is incredibly bullish. I mean, what further confirmation do you need of where this technology and asset class is going that BlackRock has to throw their hat in the ring? They're invested in so many things. They're politically connected. They're the whale of whales, and they're here. They're here trying to, grab as much as they can, because it's not just the Bitcoin ETF. Remember, last year they launched their own private Bitcoin trust for their institutional clients. They partnered with Circle to help custody USDC reserves. They, of course, partnered with Coinbase to allow crypto custody and trading for their institutional clients. So you have all of these things in the backdrop, and then all of a sudden, when the price of Bitcoin, crashed down to $25,000, Gary Gensler is going on a tear, enforcement actions up the wazoo, right? All of a sudden, BlackRock says, yeah, we're going to file for this ETF. It's pretty amazing. And it goes back to a theory I've been talking about for a while, which I'm not the only one saying this, but the SEC has been weaponized to take down crypto startups such as your Coinbase and your Binance, so that these big TradFi incumbents can come in and take over. Your JP Morgans, your Goldman Sachs, and your BlackRocks, and those companies of that caliber.
So before we kick it to Johnny Crypto, I just have one follow-up for you. It's interesting for me to listen to BlackRock turn Bitcoin positive because of the ESG aspect of it. They're the biggest proponent of the ESG scores. So what do you think about that aspect of BlackRock finally accepting Bitcoin and kind of accepting proof of work in the process? Tony, if you have a response there, and then I'll kick it to Johnny.
Oh, apologies. I thought that was for Johnny. It's interesting because we haven't had any type of formal information or statement from them regarding the ESG aspect. However, we do know that miners have been working towards adding more renewable energies, cooperating with the grid in different regions and parts of the countries where they are not putting a strain on the electric grid, but rather helping to reinforce it. So the Bitcoin miners have done a great job in finding more clean energy solutions and so forth. And there's one question I've been dying to get an answer from Elon Musk about. He had said once Bitcoin mining hit over 50% sustainability energy or clean energy or something like that, they would start accepting Bitcoin again. That might be around the corner, but I think BlackRock is seeing the same thing. And it's interesting, they have not made a statement about the ESG updates.
Johnny, there's a bunch of topics you want to talk about, but first feel free to introduce yourself and then we'll get right into the topics.
Well, as you know, my name is Johnny Crypto with a K, and I'm wishing everybody a great day. But I just want to give a special thanks to Tony. Thank you, Tony, for being here tonight. Happy Father's Day. And I could not agree with Tony more. You want to talk about a bullish indicator, because I'm all about looking for forward-leading indicators. Whenever BlackRock's getting into something, and in this particular case, hopping into Bitcoin ETF, when them and everybody else have been bashing it for a while. When you then see them do that flip and now they're into this, and now you're seeing that the SEC is moving forward. Let's not forget, Abs, I think 14 times, and I don't quote me on that, but I feel like I heard the number 14 times, or 14 BTC ETF requests by different companies were rejected by the SEC over the past several years. And now it sounds like, and it looks like, oh my God, by surprise, the one that BlackRock files for looks like it might pass.
And I think it's another example of how quickly things can change, right, Johnny? Like that's the point I'm trying to make with the ESG scores. BlackRock has been talking about the death of proof of work, basically more than JP Morgan. There's nobody more than BlackRock that's been detrimental to proof of work. So to see them coming in and the SEC having approved 575 previous approvals for ETFs, I don't know. I want to get some closing thoughts here. What's it mean to you, Rhoda?
Well, like I said, what it means is if BlackRock is doing it, it's most likely going to happen. You're finally going to see it. We've been talking about this forever on the Good Morning Crypto Show. We've been saying that we felt that the reason why this whole industry has been moving slower in the U.S. when things have been slowed down is to allow the big players to move their positions, their ships into position. And you're seeing it happen every time we turn around. There's another story. J.P. Morgan in, BlackRock moving in, NASDAQ moving in. Everybody's coming, Abs. And it's only a matter of time before they all flip the switch and become, do complete 180s and all of a sudden go from bashing crypto to telling you that crypto is the next best thing since sliced bread. It's only a matter of time, my friend.
And if anybody has any questions, feel free to raise your hand. We're going to take questions at the end of this. But I'd love to move on here as Warren Davidson introduced the new Stabilization Act to the House of Representatives. And one of the bill's main provisions here is to fire Chairman Gary Gensler. So, Tony, with that being said, up to you.
Oh, I love this bill. I love it. I love it. I love it. I could say that 100 times over. No, here's the thing. A lot of about politics is optics, right? It's about narratives and things like that. Yes, there's some political grandstanding and things that happen. That's the game, unfortunately. But Gary Gensler, he acts like a politician, and he loves to put out certain narratives out there. And he loves to put a picture out there that he's doing a great job and that all these cryptos are securities and everything's a scam that's happening in the crypto industry. But we know that's a lie. So when, members of Congress, take these type of moves, I think it's critical. It's important. It garners more attention to the facts. What is Gary Gensler actually doing? And I think once people start seeing the facts, they see he's failing at his job. He's causing more confusion. He's hurting retail investors when the core mission of the SEC is to protect investors, right? So I love what Congressman Warren Davidson did here. What's the likelihood of this, making its way through? It's not a high chance, right? It's not a high probability, but that's not the point here. I think we can all agree it's the optics, it's the narrative, it's further exposing this corrupt bureaucrat who thinks he can control the free market, right? And I think it's. I'm going to try to get Warren Davidson on and see on my podcast and see, hey, what can he do here? Can this actually make its way through? Obviously, Gary's got a lot of Democrats in his back pocket backing him, so maybe the next election cycle that could happen, but he might be out by then. But I think we have to win the game of optics and narratives as well, because Gary is certainly pushing his propaganda.
So, Tony, do you believe that Gary is the head of the snake? I've seen some speculation that it could be Elizabeth Warren. It could be the CCP. Where does the head of the snake lie? Does getting rid of Gary Gensler actually solve a problem, or is it just more of a headline in the grand scheme of things?
Well, first of all, sorry, was that to Tony?
Yep, to Tony, and then you do, Johnny.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, a great point. Gary is just a puppet. I think he's on the strings, and the folks controlling that string is Elizabeth Warren and I think some other folks in the Biden administration. And we know Gary wants that Treasury job, so he's doing whatever he can right now to build his credibility to take over at the Treasury. And I hope he doesn't get that. I hope his career is ruined here. But yes, there's other things at play here from folks I've talked to at crypto lobby groups and folks I spoke to off the record. Gary is just a tool, and you've seen his narrative change. You've seen his aggression get stronger against the crypto industry. He's even he contradicted his own statements. Last year he was saying, yeah, we need Congress to help provide the guidance. Now he's saying, no, there's no guidance. The rules are clear. So he's getting directions from somebody because we know he understands this technology. He was teaching it. He was an advocate of it. He was talking about building Uber and Algorand. The man tried to go work for Binance, and then all of a sudden he's attacking it, saying it's all scams, it's all hucksters, and it's all frauds and everything. I think we know he's just a dog on a leash, and they've let him out to go after the crypto industry.
Johnny, I'm kicking it straight to you.
I couldn't have said it better myself. Dog on a leash. That is perfect, Tony. Abs, I'm going to quote an old cliche I grew up with. There ain't a Chinaman's chance in China that he's getting fired, okay? That is not happening. That bill is never, ever, ever going to see the light of day. You can forget about anybody who's hopeful that Gary's getting fired. Sorry, guys. I hate to ruin your Sunday night, but it ain't happening. Gary isn't getting fired. Gary was handpicked by the powers that be to be there. He's doing exactly what they want him to do. So while everybody thinks he's doing a terrible job, you're looking at it from your perspective. And yes, from our perspective, we all thought Gary came from MIT, as Tony said. He taught cryptocurrencies. He knew it probably better than most people in the industry or in the world. And so he seemed like a great pick. But you have to understand something. People who get put in the position of power do what their bosses tell them to do. It's that simple. When you work for somebody, you're getting orders. And he's obviously getting orders from above that are saying, right now you're going to we know it. We know what he says. Operation Choke Point. He's told us to choke out crypto, and so he's doing exactly what he's told to do. He's being a good soldier, and he's doing it because, like Tony said, his next position is going to be the Treasury Secretary, right? But first, he's got to do this job, and he's got to do what he's told to do. So anybody who thinks he's gonna, he's gonna flip and do something different, I told you guys, you will see a different Gary Gensler. If the top tells Gary to unchoke Choke Point 2.0 and do just the opposite, then you'll see a different Gensler. But until then, this is the Gensler we're going to get. And it doesn't matter who's in there, Abs. You could be in there. I could be. Whoever they put in there, they're going to say this is the way it's got to be. And if they don't do the job, they're going to get fired.
Tony, I'd love to get some comments from you. Johnny brought up Operation Choke Point, so I'm going to remind our listeners what that is. Operation Choke Point was what was it exactly? It was commands from the President of the United States to the SEC and CFTC, as well as other agencies, to not only attack crypto in parallel, but shut them out of the banking system and stop giving them lending. Am I correct on that, Tony?
Yeah, absolutely. Cut off the on and on ramps for their banking services and financial services, right? So they wouldn't be able to have any cash to operate or even fund the exchanges to be able to pay out people when they cash out, or when they buy. Where does that cash actually go? So essentially just cutting off the financial services pipeline. And certainly Elizabeth Warren was a part of that. There were talks of her working with short sellers. There's many layers to this because they attacked those banks who were crypto friendly first, like Silvergate and so on. But then we saw the trickle down effect where it went down to SVB and the others. So is there multiple agendas here? Possibly, because on one hand, I can see them doing this because they're allowing the JP Morgans to come in and the Bank of Americas and so forth to buy up the small regional banks and allowing these banks to become even bigger and more powerful. And that plays into more control of the financial markets, more control of the banking system, which one could argue plays well into the infrastructure for a CBDC, right? It's going to be harder if you have smaller regional banks to have CBDCs flowing through them. But if you have a JP Morgan, which has, 5,000 locations and they can launch more in lieu of these smaller banks, there's so many things at play here. But certainly, I know some crypto companies and they were cut off. They lost banking access. Now, thankfully, they were able to get access to new banks, but it certainly hurt those companies. And it was certainly a panic mode, right? Whoa, how are we going to operate? We need credit. We need a line of credit. We need to pay our bills, right? Because I think anybody who knows business 101, the cash doesn't always come in on time, and you need that line of credit. So it was certainly tough on crypto companies, and that was a big strategy. Now it seems to have calmed down a bit because there's been a lot of folks reporting on this. You even had Barney Frank come out and call it out, right? Barney Frank of all people. So it got a lot of press, a lot of eyeballs on it. So it seems like it has calmed down, but who knows what Elizabeth Warren has up her sleeves.
Well, I guess the follow-up question I have for you is there's a lot of correlated stories going on right now with Fed now launching in July, countries around the world moving away from the dollar, and everyone going digital. Do you think we're going to see a day pretty soon where people like Ellen and Gary Gensler become pro-crypto, but only about specific cryptocurrencies, maybe government-backed tokens and Bitcoin specifically? I'm going with Tony.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think I see it on the horizon for sure. They will pick their ones that they have the partnerships with and they have control over. They will definitely back those. But I'm still trying to figure out some things here because on one hand, I know the U.S. can't be that dumb. They drive this technology, they drive the capital, the entrepreneurs overseas. There has to be a point, and maybe the BlackRock news is that point, that turning point, right? They've beaten down the market so much. They went off after the largest exchanges, Binance and Coinbase. Maybe now is the recovery phase. Maybe they now start to flip the narrative. That's the point. I think we all got to watch and see when do they flip the script. And to your point, which cryptos will they back? Will they back Bitcoin? Well, maybe because BlackRock and JP Morgan are involved. Will they back Ethereum? Possibly. JP Morgan is heavily invested in Consensus and Ethereum. We know that for years. What else will they back? And that's, those are the big questions.
Johnny, I want to get some closing comments from you and then we'll move on.
Yeah, I mean, I think at the end of the day, it's clear that there is going to be a push for a CBDC. We've been saying for the longest time that you're going to hear the narrative crypto is bad and CBDCs are good. No surprise there that's where we're shifting towards. And Tony nailed the spot on the head. When you go to war, there's always a strategy. You have multiple approaches. One is you cut out the power, then you cut out the food supply. You do different things to choke things out. And that's exactly what you saw in crypto. Is first they went and they choked out the on and off ramps. All right, and to see they thought that would kind of kill it, and then like, well, shit, that worked, it helped, but it didn't work completely. So what's the next step you do? Well, you can't go after every single cryptocurrency out there and call it security because they don't have the SEC has the resource to do that. So what do? You go after the exchanges, and so you saw a huge attack this week or last week, right? And they went and sued both Coinbase and Binance, two of the biggest one and two players in the game. So first you take off the on-off ramps, now you take out the big exchanges. You can just see the dominoes keep falling, and then you're going to see, as Mark Yusko used to say, or does say, we're right, you stage, and that's what you're seeing right now. You're seeing a big battle between the push to crush crypto and on the other side, the exchange is trying to fight to save it. And the real question is, when are we going to see them come together? I really think the industry has to come together. You need to see Coinbase and Binance and Ripple and Kraken and Hawkinson. Everybody's got to come together to start balancing the scales. Otherwise, it's going to be a one-sided fight like it is right now. And the SEC is just going to pick these guys off one by one by one. But I think go ahead.
And I was going to say, we can talk a little Charles Hoskinson at the end of the night, Johnny, to fill us in. But I got to get some Sam Bankman-Fried information in here. Sam Bankman allegedly ratting out everyone in the industry. But I have a different proposal. I think that after reading a little bit into it on Twitter, Tony, that this is just a threat, that he has the possibility of exposing other people. What are your thoughts on Sam Bankman-Fried's debacle and the fact that he's going to be going to court in October?
Yeah, there's two aspects to it. Like you said, one, he's trying to save his ass and he's going to rat out people. However, I think people could rat him out as well because, there's a lot of talks about what he was doing in D.C. With the SEC, trying to, have some sort of monopoly in the crypto industry, kind of what the license, I believe, Prometheum got recently. And then, in the back of my mind, I keep thinking that this guy is not going to see much jail time just because of his parents' connections and all the political donations that he's given and all the things he saw and heard in DC. I think he has dirt on chins. Will he expose them? I don't know, but he could. I think that potential is there, and I think they're going to go lenient. They're going to be lenient with him, which really sucks. He's a criminal, and he should be in jail, just like Bernie Madoff. I think I tweeted out the other day, maybe Bernie Madoff should have made some political donations. You'd probably get some charges dropped, just like Sam.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with Tony more, Abs. There is, again, to quote my other saying, there ain't a Chinaman chance in China that this kid's going to jail. He gave $35 million. He was the second largest donation to one of the parties. I mean, no, that's what you call a get out of jail free card. So I will be personally surprised if anything, if we see anything, like maybe he'll get a little slap on the wrist, maybe 9 months of community service, maybe even gets to do like a Martha Stewart to put him in a country club for like 3 months, maybe something like that. But this kid is not doing hard time. There ain't no way. And if he ends up wanting to rat, like if he's really truly going to think, then you know what's going to happen? You saw what happened to Epstein when they thought he was going to talk, right? So it tells me he'll end up committing suicide. He'll get depressed and commit suicide, shoot himself in the back of the head, and then put himself in the trunk. So yeah, I don't think he's going to rat Abs. I highly doubt it. But I know we'll wait. We'll have to wait and see what happens.
You guys are killing me tonight, if I'm being honest. I got to bring it back to a more serious note, Tony. You said that Sam might know information about specific politicians. They were running their accounting on QuickBooks. If Sam knows anything, I'm sure there's other people in his agency that also know. If there's anything worth getting out, do you believe it's going to come out to the general public, or will these secrets stay hidden forever, in your opinion?
I think there is a big move to have a lot of these things hidden. And just due to the political connections, because you saw how, for example, Maxine Waters, right, when Sam was in the Bahamas, how her tone changed and tweeting at him, and it was just this very soft tone. And we know prior to all this collapse and all the fraud being exposed, she was taking photos with the man, right? Blowing kisses at them. I don't know if you guys remember, there was videos of that.
And they were even applauding him when he first showed up to speak. They were saying, "Thank you so much, Sam, for showing up to court."
Right. It's unbelievable, man. Really, really unbelievable. But that's crony capitalism, I guess. But yeah, I think there's going to be a big agenda to have a lot of things covered up. They're going to try to bury this and make sure you don't remember it. And I think the timing of certain things will probably be when the price starts going up and people are not really thinking about FTX or worried about X or Sam anymore, because we already have time. Time is a thing that makes people forget for sure, and they move on. But also, if you're distracted and you're not feeling the same level of emotions or pain or feelings that you were at that time, right? When everybody was pissed off at Sam, we were all angry. We're like, F guy, he really screwed the market. But guess what? Even myself, I'm not even thinking so much about that, right? So time, and I think they're going to position certain announcements watch alien spacecraft get discovered, and then Sam's news or whatever is going to be buried under that, right? We've seen things like this time and time again, just distract people, the masses, and then they do their thing behind that.
Exactly. And I want to get some thoughts on this next topic here. But guys, we got about 30 people in here, and there's a lot of people who weren't here at the beginning of the live chat. We discussed how BlackRock's going to be launching a Bitcoin ETF and how they've applied 576 times before. 575 were approved. There was only one that was not approved back in 2014. But if you're interested in checking out the Merlin application, it is the smartest way to track your crypto, and you get access 30 days absolutely free. So just click on the link pinned at the top, and you can check out our application. Getting back to our content here, the Hinman emails came out this week, Tony. I'd like to start with the discussion with is when are we going to get a ruling on this thing? When we were in XRP Las Vegas, John Deaton told us that on September 30th, Judge Torres is going to have to report to Congress if she can't make a ruling here. So we know there should be a ruling before then. But with the Hinman emails being released, a lot of people were anticipating in the next 14 days, 21 days, we could see a ruling from Judge Torres. While on top of that, Brad Garlinghouse told us a couple of weeks ago that it could only be a matter of weeks, not months, until we get a ruling. So where's your mind at? What are you anticipating?
So it's all about probabilities, right? What's the likelihood of something happening either within the next 2 weeks? Could be tomorrow, Monday, right? Or around September. I think the higher probability falls on something happening sooner than later. So maybe sometime this month. That could be my bias, but I also feel the timing of different things happening. Here, let me kind of break it down. One, what Brad Garlinghouse said, right? He's out. He obviously knows more than we do. Just on Friday, he put out a video kind of alluding to this thing winding down as if it's going to wrap up sooner than later. You got the Hinman emails came out, so the SEC is not in a good spot right now. You have politicians really going after Gary Gensler. Obviously, many on the House Financial Committee Services, which oversees the GOP. I mean, you have Congressman Tom Emmer, the GOP whip. The man's tweeting out, "Fire Gary Gensler," right? It's kind of unprecedented. And then you have a lot of bills. You like Patrick McHenry. He put out a bill that will provide clarity between the SEC and the CFTC. What's a security? What's a commodity? In addition, I saw Senator Lummis is heating up her talks around her and Kristen Gillibrand's bill. So I think the timing makes sense now, given all the things that's happening. It's aligning to the outcome of this lawsuit, and with the big lawsuits from the SEC recently. So my thoughts are sooner than later. I think we see something this month.
Johnny, floor is yours, my friend.
Yeah, that's a tough one because I think Tony's right. It's just a guess at this point. Probabilities with the judges, a big decision looming on her that could kind of set the whole industry up. And as we just talked about earlier in the night, we know that there's a bunch of forces pushing against it, so she would be going in the opposite direction. And so that to me is what a very, very interesting time to see, why this is taking so long. And is there other forces that are slowing this thing down? And is it now ready to finally move it forward? And so if the answer is yes, they want to flip the switch and move it forward, then I think we get a ruling pretty soon. If the answer is no, then I think maybe we don't. And maybe we go to the September date. She goes to Congress, right? Which we know they typically don't want to go in front of Congress. It's usually looked down upon. But maybe she does go to them. And when they say to her, "Why haven't you ruled?" She says, "You know what? You guys, Congress, you need to make the clarity, because this is really the reason why this whole mess is going on is because Congress hasn't created clarity, right? We know what we saw clearly from the Hinman emails, the SEC internal folks were saying, look, we don't have the regulatory definition and clarity around, in some of these instances around this stuff, this technology. The Howey test was created in 1946, apps. Cryptocurrency was created in 1988. The first patent was filed. Okay, that's 42 years later. So of course it makes sense that there's no rules of regularity or clarity around this and how to do it. And so maybe she goes to court and says, "You know what? You guys need to solve this. I don't know." So for me, it's going to be one of those things where we're going to have to wait and see how this whole thing plays out. The only thing that I'm hanging my hat on, I feel good about, is Brad did come out and say, "Hey, this is going to be weeks, not months." And like Tony said, he's got a more inside scoop than any of us do. So that's all you can really go by is what Brad is saying. And hopefully we do get an answer by the end of this month.
Tony, I'm hearing rumors of the possibility there may not be a ruling on secondary sales. What do you think the implications of that would be? Is there any chance that she doesn't make a ruling on secondary sales, even though she makes a ruling in this case?
That's a tough one. I don't think that would be that will be the issue. I think she has to, because that affects the retail investors. Not just for the XRP situation, but with Cardano and other cryptos. I don't think she can leave that out, in my opinion. Not, I could be totally wrong, but I don't think she can leave that out. I think she has to rule on that. I think that this is a big part of this lawsuit. And for the future sales of XRP in the secondary markets, and the XRP you and I hold, and what if we resell it, right, to someone or whatever it may be. So I don't think so, but I could be wrong.
I'll tell you what, Tony, that would be a complete disaster if she rules on just the front piece of it, which is the whole thing of selling in 2013 as security, and not rule on the back end on whether secondary sales are considered, because that's like literally all Brad wanted. He literally said, look, he was willing to negotiate and pay probably $100 million fine to the SEC, and say they were security back in 2013, as long as the SEC was willing to say that secondary sales were not, and the SEC would not agree to it, and that's why we don't have a settlement, right? So if that were to happen, that would be a complete disaster, Abs, and it would kind of not give any clarity at all to the industry, but it would kind of bring the lawsuit to an end. Now, the thing is, we got to ask John Deaton this next time we get him on the show, or Jeremy Hogan. I remember them saying at the XRP Vegas that the mistake the SEC made was they didn't go after just the 2013, but I thought it was also in regards to secondary sales, and that's where John Deaton was saying that was the flaw that the SEC made. It was going to be hard for them to win that piece of it. So the question I would have now is, could she split the ruling and rule on only half of what the SEC is going for, not the other half? I don't even know if that's possible. That's something we'd have to ask an attorney. But that would be very interesting, because if she could do that, then it is possible, and that would be a disastrous ending if the secondary sales were left in limbo.
Tony, do you have a response to that?
I agree with Johnny. It would be pretty disastrous. Like, as I was speaking, I was thinking about not just, once again, the XRP holders, but look at what the SEC just did, right? They listed more tokens in a slimy, shady way, in my opinion. Throwing it into the Binance lawsuit, the Coinbase lawsuit, and they put in some of the top 10 cryptos in there: Solana, Matic, and Cardano. So it would affect those tokens as well, being sold in the secondary market. So as Johnny said, it'd be a disaster.
Let's close this topic of conversation out with the Hinman emails. When they went down, we went from 50 cents to 56 cents, then quickly back to 52. So even if we get a ruling in this case that's positive, will this be a buy the rumor, sell the news situation? Let's go Tony and then Johnny.
Hey, sorry, you cut out there for me. Can you repeat that?
Do you believe that this will be a buy the rumor, sell the news situation like it always has been? Because we saw that with the Hinman emails just last week.
For the ruling?
Yes.
It's possible. So, certainly market makers and different folks who are trading the markets, they obviously have these news items lined up, like positioned to make their trades and do their thing. So that's always a situation. Yeah, and I know some folks who do some big trades, and once again, market makers and so forth. So they will use the news out there to play the game. However, what may be a big catalyst is that, let's say we get a ruling in favor of Ripple and XRP, the exchanges open up trading again. What if Coinbase says, oh, there you go, trading's back, baby, right? And all the other exchanges, a lot of liquidity, a lot of folks are going to be running back to those exchanges to start trading XRP, because you're like, oh, it's in the clear now. We have nothing to worry about. And with that victory, the anticipation of the price increasing.
Johnny Crypto.
Habs, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, I have a different perspective on it. I kind of talked about this on the Good Morning Crypto show. I know nobody's going to like this agreement, but hey, listen, that's the beautiful thing of America. We all have our own opinions. I don't think we're going to see a monster push and all new time highs from the lawsuit ruling, because look, you typically see the biggest momentum before the news comes out. I do agree it's going to 100% be a buy the rumor, sell the news thing. And look at it. Everybody knew the Hinman emails were coming out. And there was also a while back back when Charles said it, back I think in December, there was a lot of discussion that, hey, this thing's coming to an end. Every time everybody thought this case was coming to an end, the highest thing we saw pre-news was like in the 50s. Nobody's excited right now. There's no liquidity. There's a $2 trillion of money floating out there like there was in the bull run of 2021 that saw this thing go to $2. Because if it was, you would see that if that excitement was there and the liquidity was there, you'd see $1 or $2 right now. as people are going into it. And you're not seeing that. You're seeing 50 cents. So for me, no, I don't think we're going to see a big thing. I think it is buy the rumor, sell the news. Whatever it is going to be, but I don't think it's going to be a big number. However, what I do believe is once the monkey is off their back and we go through this little short pump and dump, buy the rumor, sell the news, maybe we see 60, 70, 80 cents, maybe $1, right? And then it pulls back down and then it's just sitting for a while into the next bull run without the monkey of the SEC on its back. Now I think it's primed to pump. And then when all that liquidity comes back in the market, when we get into another bull run, or if BlackRock ETF comes through and that unlocks now institutions able to invest kind of in crypto, and you see, we needed a liquidity injection. And we had the Fed turn on the printing presses with $2 trillion being spread that had to go somewhere. But we don't have that right now at this moment in time. So for that reason, I don't believe we're going to see a major price increase. But yes, I do believe it'll be buy the rumor, sell the news.
Tony, this is what Johnny's statement really reminds me of. The SEC is going after all cryptocurrencies. You said it earlier, Algorand, Cardano, Solana, Matic, many of the big top 10, top 20 cryptocurrencies right now, while XRP's journey with the SEC is finally coming to a close. And Brad Garlinghouse has said that exact statement several times over the last couple of weeks. So just to close this out here, I believe the same thing Johnny does. 70, 80 cents is where I really think we're going to get to. And if we're fortunate enough to see $1.20, $1.40 based off the news, that would be exciting as well. But I'm not one of these super high price target guys. I think it's going to take more than just a catalyst to get us above all-time high, and it's definitely going to take another bull market. So with that being said, could we see a situation where while the SEC is going after Algorand, Cardano, and a bunch of other cryptos, XRP is the only token with clarity, and that's what provides that long-term sustainable growth?
Well, yeah, and I certainly agree with your initial thoughts that, Johnny made a great point too. There's not enough liquidity right now. There's a lot of fear still in the markets. People are not really concerned about investing right now. They're worried about recession and all these things, inflation. You obviously, though, the market makers, sometimes they play the game, and we could see the XRP price go up, but certainly not to new all-time highs. I'm actually not even looking to necessarily trade it in this, on that ruling news. What I am doing, I am dollar cost averaging, and my strategy is, okay, it will get the clarity, and then that opens up the runway to take off for the bull run coming up, right? Post 2024 Bitcoin halving. So that's my outlook on it. And I'm not, I know some people are thinking, oh, we're going to see this massive pump or whatever. I don't think so. Even though the Fed, they've kind of gone dovish and they're pausing rate hikes and so forth, it is still not there. So we'll see what happens. Obviously, I would love to be wrong on that. The price goes parabolic and we touched the all-time high of $3.80, I think it was. That would be awesome. But definitely, I don't think that's not likely. I don't think.
Johnny Crypto, I'd love to get some closing statements there, but we only have one more topic, guys. So if anybody has questions, feel free to raise your hand. And right after this closing discussion, we're going to kick it right over to the group. But this is what caught my attention earlier this week. Charles Hoskinson, again, completely changed his stance on XRP in the Ripple lawsuit, now becoming an advocate of not only Ripple, but the XRP community as a whole. And this it really hit home for me because last December, Tony, Charles actually tweeted out and said that the XRP has no utility, no technical value, and no partnerships. Now he's coming out as a proponent of the currency. I've been a huge critic of Charles. Johnny's been an advocate, so I guess you're in between here. What do you think about Charles flip-flopping on the XRP situation?
It's funny because I had him on the podcast and I asked him, the questions about the Bill Hinman conflicts and Ethereum and so forth. And a lot of the controversy started around that, right? People are like, Charles, why would you say these things? So I actually am trying to get Charles back on because he's been tweeting, can we make peace, XRP community and army and things like that? I'm honestly not sure. And I don't, and look, I like Charles. I like Charles. He's a smart guy. I'm a ADA token holder. I certainly support Cardano. Is Charles being a little bit disingenuous? Was he being a bit disingenuous back in the day? I think so. Charles, if you're listening, don't take that to heart, man. I still want you back on the podcast. But I think, look, Charles has a lot of friends at Ethereum. Charles, I'm sure, if he was to take certain positions and things that have been exposed now, it would have probably burned some bridges for him with the Ethereum folks. And not to mention the whole exposing of the consensus folks, the Ethereum Foundation, and all the backroom deals they did with the SEC. So I think maybe there was a bit of trying to protect his friends there. And I don't know I don't think he has anything to worry about because he left early. But now I think everything's being exposed. I think he sees the XRP community is not to be messed with. We kept going despite folks calling people conspiracy theorists and or bots and this and that and all kinds of stuff. And now, what do you got to say? Right? Everything's out in the open. The light is shining bright. Ethereum situation, and we were right. And I think he knows that this community is not to be messed with. And I think a lot of people are waking up to that. I'm seeing people come out of the woodwork who are saying positive things about Ripple and XRP now. It could be the fact that they got educated, maybe that they took time to read about the situation, or two, they see that, yeah, this community doesn't give up. You know, even despite all the lies and the people name calling and so forth, this community doesn't give up.
And I just have one more follow-up before we hear from Johnny. Cardano took a huge hit.
You know, Abs just commenting there. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. This is what everybody needs to learn. It does no good, zero value in the XRP community fighting with our Cardano community when there's a bigger war in front of us, where we know the scales are tipped against us. All right, the crypto industry is under attack. The last thing you want are your forces divided. So for me, you know where I stand on this whole thing. I don't give a shit what Charles said before. I don't care what the community said. I think the communities need to come together.
The only thing worse than an enemy is a fake friend, Johnny.
No, I don't think that's the case. I mean, you can call him a fake friend whenever you want. I think the reality is everybody's human. Everybody gets emotional. Everybody makes mistakes. He said a couple things that maybe he regrets, and so we're going to punish him forever for that, rather than saying, "Hey, come on board, friend, and let's do whatever we got to do to push the crypto community forward." And I think, Charles has already proven it, Abs. How many other guys have gone in front of Congress and testified in favor of the industry? Charles has. Who else has done it? He's a friend of the community, so why not embrace somebody like that? Let water under the bridge be water under the bridge. It ain't gonna matter at this point, and move forward. Shake hands and move on. That's what mature adults do, and I think that's what this industry should do. So, as part of the extra community, I welcome Charles with an open hand. Come on in, buddy. Let's fight this fight together, side by side. Let's go.
Guys, like I said, the only thing worse than an enemy is a fake friend, and I can spot a Cardano holder when I see one, Johnny Crypto, so I just had to throw that out there. Kidding, of course, guys. But Tony, I did want to just get a response because we saw Cardano take a huge hit on the ruling that it was a security. Cardano, Algorand, a lot of secure projects in the past are now taking a hit. So I just want to get your thoughts. Should they be concerned that the SEC is going after Cardano or an Algorand?
Well, here's the thing. The good thing is that I think doesn't have the resources to go do what he did to Ripple. He can go after the Cardano Foundation individually and open a whole case, right? They would set themselves up for failure. But by throwing a bunch of tokens into these lawsuits, they're trying to see what's going to stick. So there's good and bad here. One, the good is that they're not getting litigated, and this is the shady activity of Gary Gensler, of course, right? Because if Binance or some of these folks say, "Oh, we don't have the money to fight these guys, we're just going to settle," then Gary takes that as a pseudo win. He didn't actually litigate the token itself, right? Go through the due process. He's just suing Binance and throwing these tokens in there. So these tokens, on one hand, that's a good avenue because they don't have to be caught up in some litigation like Ripple did and spend hundreds of millions of dollars, right? Even the Algorand folks are like, yeah, whatever, we don't care, right? And even Cardano folks, they put out a blog post like, yeah, ADA is not a security, F you, right? So that's the good part, but obviously there's a bad to it. I think though, if Gensler does ramp up and finds another slimy avenue to go after these tokens, they're going to have to come together. I think they're really going to have to come together and pool their resources because not all of them have money like Ripple. And there's, I don't know how much they have in their war chest or their reserves, but they're going to have to come together. And really, like Johnny said, the industry is going to have to come together, man. We got to put aside our differences and really work together because the one enemy is Gary Gensler and the SEC.
And it's got unlimited currency, right? We know it's got unlimited funds. Tony, I could agree with you more. It has to come together. I mean, Library had like $1 million in its war chest, and I think Jeremy Hogan said that's like 3 days worth of attorney fees, right? So, I mean, if you don't have a big war chest, it is going to be a tough fight, and I really think that is where the challenge is, and why I want to see the community come together for that purposes. I really, really hope it does, Tony. Otherwise, I think the community is in trouble. But I think there's hope. You did see, Abs, that the SEC kind of got, they kind of got slapped back a little bit by the judge in the Binance ruling. If they were trying to freeze the assets, and it turned out the judge was like, no, we're not going to do that, and force the SEC to go back and work out a deal with Binance, and they worked out a deal where the funds are going to just get controlled by the U.S. Binance division, which to me is actually good. It's a win for Binance in that particular case. And Tony, that's what I'm really excited about is the premise of tonight's conversation was, is there hope? Because we talked about tons of attacks, but you do see that there is some hope here. We've got a ruling in that favor right there for Binance. And I think Binance, the nice thing is, Tony, Binance has a ton of money. They're flush with cash.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Yeah, we got deep pockets there. Kraken's got deep pockets. Coinbase has deep pockets. So I think the SEC, they took on two big peers in this fight, taking on Coinbase and Binance. And the nice thing is, Brian Armstrong said, hell, man, we're going to war, buddy. You know what else? We came in to see you 30 times. Brian Armstrong, Coinbase wants to see them 30 times, Tony. 30 times in 2022. And what happens? He said, we're going to get slapped with a lawsuit. And Brian's like, all right, you know what? Then we're going to war. He said, we're going to just go to court and we're going to get to settle out in court. And Coinbase has a bunch of money too. So it is good to see that you've got some companies that have some big bucks in their pockets that can fight this war like Ripple could. And if Ripple, and so the hope here is, let's say now with the Hinman emails, we get a favorable ruling in Ripple's favor. Then, of course, if Binance and Coinbase can come through with a win, wow, that would be 3 huge wins for the crypto industry and 3 big major losses for Gary Gensler and the SEC. And I think that's where there's some hope. What do you think, Tony?
Yeah, and in addition to that, Grayscale, there are folks who in the legal field who have said that Grayscale could win the lawsuit against the SEC as well. So absolutely agree with your points. The one thing I want to highlight, man, the SEC, this is a government agency which operates off of our tax dollars. They're supposed to represent us. They're supposed to protect investors. Just look at what they were trying to do with Binance in freezing the assets, not even thinking about the customers, the retail investors that were going to be hurt. And I'm so thankful there's checks and balances with our government, right? The legislative, executive, and judicial. And the judicial is really coming through here and just calling bullshit on this clown Gary Gensler and the SEC. And stuff like that really pisses me off, because it's one thing you say, hey, you're suing this company because they did something wrong. And I'm not saying Binance, they're angels or whatever it is, but the fact that you're trying to freeze these assets and you don't have any type of way out for the retail investors, it's like, fuck you, Gary Gensler, you're an asshole. And it's stuff like that it goes beyond just, hey, I'm here to invest and make money. It's like, I want to see this asshole lose his job and not get the treasury job.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, he's doing his job to the T, and he's probably doing it extremely well. I'm sure his seniors, managers are happy with him. But, I want to talk about the ripple effect that happens here. You said something so important. You said they're supposed to be there to protect us, the citizens. And not only have they not done that, right? We know that there's 73,000 or something like that people under the John Deaton lawsuit who were affected by their decision and hurt them and cost them $15 billion, I think it was, in lost money and funds and Ripple when they put up this frivolous lawsuit. Well, here's another scenario that just happened. So when Gary went and shut down Nexo and he shut down Kraken, let me give you an example. And I don't know if this is how many other people this did, but I'll give you my own personal experience. Once he shut those both down, I was like, well, what's the point of leaving my coins on Nexo and Kraken? I can't stake them anymore. So what did I do? I took them off. I moved them to a hot wallet called Atomic Wallet. And guess what happened 3 weeks ago? My wallet got hacked and I ended up losing a good chunk of my crypto, which, think about the ripple effect. If Gary doesn't go after these frivolous lawsuits, shutting down these places, my money's still sitting on Nexo and Kraken and, I wouldn't have lost it in the hack. So you can see how he's injured people in many various different ways. And now you got to say to yourself, did he shut down Nexo? Why did he shut down Kraken staking? Right? Well, we know why. Because they were offering 8.97, 8.9%. And guess what, Tony? You ain't gonna ever see that in a local bank or one of the big banks, are you?
Yeah, that's the game, right? How dare these crypto startups offer more of an interest payment and all these things than the JP Morgans, right? Which give you bullshit returns. That's a big part of it, because capital is leaving dollars, in the form of dollars, and going into crypto and stable coins where you can earn a higher yield. And it's along the theme of what we started this conversation with BlackRock, right? They want you to come to them to buy crypto and to custody crypto, and they want to do the staking and the lending. How dare you go to these startups, right? The disruption's happening, and they want to stop it. And unfortunately, instead of the free market playing out, they weaponize Gary Gensler, right? He's the puppet, and he's doing their bidding.
Johnny, I do want to get some more comments from you, but I want to remind our listeners, come up here. Coco, I see you. We're definitely going to get to your question. If anybody else has a question, just raise your hand. We'll add you as a speaker. But Johnny, I think it's not a coincidence at all that we saw the narrative, take your crypto off exchanges and go to cold storage. Now we're seeing with the Ledger and the other hack, now they're telling us get off cold storage and go to something that's insured. NASDAQ out custody services, Klaus Schwab's rolling out custody services. I think it's only 12 to 24 months before we see big banks ask for our crypto. What do you think?
You nailed it on the. I mean, take the hammer, nail that nail, some bitch right in. You nailed it on the first swing, right on. You're seeing exactly what they want. Everything is happening. It's moving us into the position of their hands, where they're, hey, come to us. We've got it insured. Put your custody. We'll custody your crypto. We'll give you FDIC for so much money, and it's all going to end up their abs. There's 100%, no doubt in my mind. That's why some of these failures happen, so they can show you, hey, you don't want to be doing that. You want to come over here on this island. We're safe over here. And that's what's going to happen. They're going to end up owning all this space. And in 2 years from now, nobody's even going to know some of these exchanges. They'll be gone because they're going to get eaten up. They're going to get swallowed up by, E-Trade or Ameritrade or Charles Schwab or Goldman Sachs. They'll end up swallowing up things like Coinbase and Kraken and buying it. They'll just get rolled in, and they'll just, that'll be a division of them that runs that whole thing. And it'll be FDIC insured and all that kind of a thing. My guess is. Or at least protecting against theft and hacking and things like that. I think that's 100% no brainer. It's only a matter of time before that happens.
And Tony, if you're looking for bullish news, I saw a clip of Jim Cramer today where he was listing off about 5 of the top 10 tokens, saying they're all garbage. So I think we're pretty good for the next couple of months. But Coco, I'd love to get to your question. So floor is yours, my friend. What's on your mind?
Hey guys, how's it going? Really nice conversation you guys got here. It's so interesting, right? That I actually don't really have a question. I kind of just have more of a statement and kind of to play off a little bit of what you guys are saying. First of all, I wish everyone a happy Father's Day, first and foremost. So I hope you guys are having a good day today, and
thank you, Coco.
Spend some time with the people that you love, and hope everyone's having a decent day. So I guess what it more boils down to for me is, when I think about it, I think about the overall picture, and I think about kind of the broader spectrum of the entire industry. And I really think right now is not really the time to be a maxi. It's time to be a crypto maxi. And it's time to speak up. A lot of us, we sit here and we look and we read the headlines, and a lot of people might feel kind of powerless because they might read some headlines, but they think to themselves, oh, well, I'm just a retail investor. I'm just somebody that, likes crypto, but, I'm just watching from the sidelines, and there's all these crazy things going on where I really don't feel like I have any power, but that's actually not true. You have platforms where you can speak up, you can leave comments on, Gary Gensler's Twitter page, you can write letters to Congress. You can do a lot of stuff as just a regular person. And you know what? We pay their salaries with our tax dollars. They're accountable to me. So at the end of the day, this industry for a long time, we've tiptoed around the SEC and kind of the overreach and all the different things that they've done to we're at the point now where they're pushing, American businesses offshore. People are there's people saying, you know what, if they keep this up, I'm just going to leave the country. And if they don't think that's going to have a ripple effect, no pun intended, then they're wrong, because this is the future of money, and this is a transformational technology. So what I would say is you don't have to be quiet. There's a full-blown war on the industry that we love. Crypto's done a lot for me. It's given me everything I ever wanted in life, and I want to leave that industry good for my kids to be able to take advantage of it, the same way people want to leave the planet good, so that their children can take advantage of a clean planet with nice air and nice roads and beautiful things that they can have. So I would say the best thing we can do is just to not sit back and just watch the headlines. The best thing we can do is speak up. The best thing we can do is let people know, and let the people that are doing this know that we're pissed off. And that's how we make change. That's how we get our point across. And you're not powerless. You have more power than you've ever had. You have these platforms where you can make noise. And that's what I'm doing. I'm with a group of people that are doing that every single day. We're making noise. And yeah, they can't keep doing this, because this technology was built for us. This is for the people. This isn't for bureaucrats. This is a tool for people to have financial freedom and to revolutionize the way we deal with value. And I just hope that we don't just let these things happen. We make enough noise so they understand that we don't want the things that they're trying to push.
Thank you, Coco. I think you bring up a bunch of great points. And I think ETHgate and the Hinman emails prove that. People have an impact. People like Digital Asset Investor, Tony Edwards, Crypto Airy, Brad Kimes. These people were putting out videos for 12, 16, 18 months before there was an impact. But over time, with enough evidence, there is an impact. When the right people get their hands on the information, we can see a difference. And Tony, I want to get a response from you, and we'll kick it back to Coco and Johnny.
Yeah, I mean, I think John Deaton called it decentralized justice. I think there's a paradigm shift happening with the internet and investors and communities. And crypto, I think, is taking it to the next level, because I remember Raoul Pal, macro investor, talked about Metcalfe's law and network effect. You're part of the network, similar to, let's say, a social network like Facebook, or Twitter. You would post something, but Twitter monetizes that, and Facebook monetizes that activity, but you don't get a cut of the revenue. But being part of a financial network, you're incentivized. And I think, we saw the XRP army rise up because what happened? The SEC filed this nonsense lawsuit and there was a ton of losses. And who took those losses? Well, the XRP holders, right? Average Joes and Janes. And they came together and fought back. And I love it. I love what's happening. I think this is a big paradigm shift. And I'm curious how it's going to play out in other aspects of society as Web3 grows and communities become stronger because, once again, of that financial incentive being a token holder. It's fascinating. And I kind of want to write a book about it.
Tony, there's two tokens that haven't been listed in the SEC as a security. That would be HBAR and XLM. So do you have any thoughts on those two being excluded?
I don't, because I'm not sure what Gary Gensler is up to. I'm not sure how they're picking these tokens. Like, for example, I was surprised Matic was thrown into one of the lawsuits because Matic is a layer 2 Ethereum scaling solution. So I don't know how they're going about this. And I was surprised they actually put Algorand in one of the lawsuits prior. I think it was the Kraken lawsuit. And given that Gary promoted Algorand in the past, apparently he's buddies with Silvio McCallie. They're connected and knew each other at MIT, I believe it was. So it's hard to tell, man. I actually would wish I was a fly in a wall to hear what type of logic is going through their mind when they put these tokens together.
Well, Tony, we know it. We know the logic. First of all, I just want to give a shout out to Coco. Thanks for coming up and speaking. And guys, welcome everybody to come up and speak. If you got a question, you got comments, raise your hand. Come on up, let Abs know. These spaces are for you guys. So come and speak. Don't be shy. We'd love to hear from you. But we already know what you're doing, Tony. The test, it's simple. It's called the Hinman test. And we know what it means. You just have to be sufficiently decentralized. Isn't that brilliant that we now have a new word, a new term, which I still to this day have no freaking clue what it means. But as long as you're sufficiently decentralized, you are not a security, Tony. You heard it right out of Hinman's emails and mouth.
And that's not even the biggest detail, Johnny. Remember, we saw an article this week where JP Morgan said Ether should be put into a other category to avoid being classified as a security, but specifically to protect investors. So, Tony, with that being said, what's it mean to you?
Yeah, it's fascinating because we know part of it is them protecting their own bags, right? We know how deep they are in with Ethereum, investing in Consensus, and helping building out Ethereum. Consensus bought Quorum from JP Morgan. So there's a lot of things happening there over the years. So on one hand, it's protecting their bags, but on the other, if they're coming out and advocating for clarity, I got to get behind it because what they say does have credibility within the political ranks because of political donations and obviously these big banks connected to regulators and politicians. So if they come out and say, hey, we need a new category and it's not security and we need to figure this out, I gotta back it up. But of course, I don't 100% trust JP Morgan. They can flip the narrative at any time, depending on what helps them to make money.
Keep in mind, what makes the Hinman situation so complicated is that the SEC can't pass laws. If we were going to see Ethereum put into a separate category, that would come from Congress. I'm right, Tony?
Exactly. And this was why I'm hoping with the amount of bipartisan bills we're seeing, like the Lummis Gillibrand, I know Warren Davidson and Darren Soto did something. I'm hoping we can get something through the House and then it makes its way through the Senate, possibly before the election cycle. I know that's a hard sell, but fingers crossed, man. I think we're starting to see more members of Congress waking up to this situation. It's garnering more attention. So I'm hoping something gets through before the election cycle.
Tony, it's interesting you said that. We've actually heard a few politicians already actually bring up cryptocurrencies in their platforms. RFK brought it up. DeSantis brought it up. And to me, as a crypto enthusiast or supporter, or actually a Coco, I like what Coco said. None of us here are maxis, or maybe we're crypto maxis. I like that. Yeah. And as a crypto supporter, I want to be hearing crypto coming up during conversations during this next election run. If you're a crypto enthusiast or maxi, whatever you want to call it, you want to be hearing that. That is good news. That means it's on the minds of these people because their polls, every one of these politicians do polls. Polls tell them what topics to talk about. If they're talking about crypto, that means the polls are showing that people care about crypto. That means crypto has now become, popular enough. I don't want to say full mainstream yet, but there's enough people in crypto in the US, I think we're over 50 million, that now it's important to these politicians that they want to talk about it. And that is how an action will happen, and that will eventually drive change in regulation. So I'm excited to see it becoming part of the next election discussion. Excuse me, discussions.
Oops, sorry, Johnny. Absolutely, man. And another aspect of this whole thing is the fact that we're seeing the segmentation of crypto right now, where Bitcoin's getting put in a category, Ethereum is being debated about, XRP is in an ongoing case, and then everything else is in a battle to be decided about whether it is a security or not. But guys, we only got about 5 minutes left. Typically, these go about 30 to 45 minutes. We're over an hour in right now. So if you have any comments, any questions, just want to contribute to the conversation, come up, feel free to speak. But Johnny, I'd like to get some closing thoughts, and then yeah, I don't really know what else is on my mind. We went through about 15 topics, so that's pretty much everything.
Yeah, great discussions tonight. It was really awesome. Abs, just give a quick thanks for folks who were here. Hopefully you enjoyed the discussion, guys. We'd love you to pop up and ask questions or join us. One of the things that we want to make sure whatever you're doing is just make sure you have an exit plan. And that's why we created Merlin. That is here to be able to help you. Well, two things Merlin does. One, it helps you bring all your coins in one place so you can see and track what they're doing. Because that was one of the biggest problems in the latest bull run we had, is not knowing, people saying, I don't know what my coins are doing. Where are they all? They're spreading, 15 different coins or 5 different exchanges, and it's a real nightmare to manage. And then having an exit plan, and that's one of the things we're excited about. Merlin is going to help people is create an exit plan so you know when to get out. You'll have alerts that send you messages when it's time, when you're close to your targets. So we're excited about it. There's a link I know below here. And guys, questions about Merlin, feel free to ask. We're happy to answer those as well. We're excited about it. And get on the wait list. We're about ready to launch it soon. Maybe the next month or so, we hope, if all goes well, maybe 1 to 2 months. But get on the wait list, because when we're ready to launch it, we are going to be sending people on the wait list early access to Merlin to try it out, Abs. So, but if you're not on the wait list, you're not going to get that access.
Awesome, guys. And we got 2 people up here. So Coco, I'm going to start with you, and then we'll go to Chappella.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to thank you guys for having me up. What you guys have been talking about here really aligns with what me and like the community that I'm in have been. We've been doing it for 60 days straight. Every day at 7 p.m. PST, we talk about these exact same issues, and we're basically a protest movement against bad regulation. We do stuff like standing outside the SEC with telling people to fire Gensler. We fly planes over Bitcoin Miami, telling people to get Gary Gensler out of office. So you'll see a lot of the community members down there. You can see them with that face. If anyone wants to, I'd like to send you guys an invite too. We got a lot of smart people. We got lawyers, CEOs, everyone in our community. If anyone wants to shoot me a DM, I'd love to have you guys over as a guest, or anyone. This is an invitation for everyone. We're literally a 100% community-driven movement. No bullshit, nothing like that. We're just here to make change. So a lot of that community is in here right now. You guys attracted us, and that's the reason I came here. So keep fighting, keep spreading truth to power. And yeah, if you guys want to come talk about these kind of issues, we talk about them every 7 p.m. PST. And we're here to fight. We're here to fight back against all of this.
Thank you so much, Coco. It's awesome to hear people like you are in the live chat right now. I'll be sure to follow you, and we can connect after the stream as well.
I would love that. Yeah, that would be awesome, man.
Yeah, that would be great. And Chappella, floor is yours. Or sorry, Johnny Crypto, do you have a statement? Then we'll kick it to Chappella.
Yeah, before we go to Chappella, just say, Coco, thank you for fighting the good fight. We need people like you out there doing that. That's awesome. I just followed you as well. And guys, come up, follow every one of the speakers up here tonight. Everybody should be following every one of these spaces. Obviously, we're all like-minded, so click that follow button and let's form a community so we can all help each other out in this space.
Thank you so much, Chappelle. Floor is yours.
All right, great. Thanks for having me. I know last 5 minutes or whatever it is. I came in late, but I just was wondering, did you have any talk about the Promethean thing? Did you cover that tonight? Or?
No, but we definitely can. Do you want to get into it right now? Did you have a specific question or just the overall debacle?
Well, just I watched some things from BitBoy about it and from Digital Perspective.
Asset Investor?
No, well, he did one, and so did Digital Perspectives. Brad Kimes put out a really good video today. He doesn't normally get political, but he decided to go ahead and voice his opinion about the extent of how deep that goes with the Chinese and things like that. And there were some other things he uncovered about the ties between the company that funded that Prometheum startup and how they were also involved with North Korea, and mining copper. Somehow there's all these connections that people are finding that are really deep and rampant. I just wondered, is Congress going to be able to just unravel all this and stop all this? I mean, hopefully, as a democracy, that's what they're supposed to do. So anyway, that's just what I was wondering about.
Thank you so much, Chappella. Tony, I have my own personal opinion on this, and I'll give it after you. But if you could, can you just give a quick breakdown of what you think is most important about that whole situation? And then we'll hear from me and Johnny as well, and Coco.
Yeah, I think this guy, Prometheum and the CEO, is certainly a plant by the SEC and Elizabeth Warren. But I think it's going to backfire on them. And I see that there's a lot of investigations happening. This is not a just a XRP community thing, but it's a crypto community thing. A lot of different communities are looking into this. A lot of legal experts. I'm seeing a lot of general counsel, chief legal officer people coming out giving their opinion, which is great. I love it. I love it. And they are doing FOIA requests. I'm actually interviewing someone from the Blockchain Association, I think Tuesday, to talk about their FOIA requests to see what the hell is going on behind the scenes with the SEC and this Prometheum bullshit. So I think this is going to backfire, and I think we got to, as I talked about earlier before, this is a game of narratives and optics. Gary's gonna, we know when he does something, he's making the media rounds, he's tweeting, he's putting out videos and everything. We gotta do a lot of noise behind this situation to and expose it, because I think it's gonna backfire on them.
Coco and Johnny, I want to get your thoughts, and then I'll get my own.
Yeah, so the whole thing with Kaplan and Prometheum is, I mean, it's almost too, it's like everything just lines up perfect for them, right? Now they have an example of someone, that came in and, went through their system, but we know it's a good old boy network. We know that there's connections before. We know that this was all part of the plan, right? Like they need to have at least Y in their corner that's sitting there saying, oh yeah, look, we took the necessary steps. We went through the process with the SEC, but we all know that they've been denying people for fucking years. They're not making it easy, and it's not like sitting here trying to protect investors. This is a land grab. This is a power play by them, and there's just a lot of dishonesty going on. There's no clarity. There's no clarity from their actions, and yeah, it's just every single time they do something like this, it's just lighting a bigger fire. It's stoking the flame more, and things like this are going to be used in the future, because who's heard of that? Who's heard of that company? Who's heard of that guy? And like, think about the major companies that are trying to do good for the space, and they're literally sending them Wells notice. And then you got this company called Prometheum with this guy Aaron Kaplan that's, nobody's really even heard of him, and it's like, oh yeah, see, here's an example of what you should do, and obviously it's all part of their network. So that's the way I look at it.
Johnny, there's a couple of things that stick out to me about the Kaplan situation. Obviously, he's against XRP because we know he's working with the SEC. When you look how that company got the pass, for anybody who doesn't have background knowledge on what the situation is, Prometheum was given the first broker-dealer's license, I believe. I believe it was the first. It may not be the first, but they were given a broker-dealer license while the SEC is suing Coinbase. They're suing Binance. They're going after Gemini. This company nobody's heard of with all these sketchy connections gets to walk into the SEC and walk out with a free pass. It's a really interesting situation, so I do think it's worth talking about. Thanks for bringing it up, Chappella. Johnny Crypto, I want to get your thoughts as well.
First of all, whenever you have anybody that looks like Terry Silver from The Karate Kid, I mean, this guy's the biggest rat snake weasel I've ever seen in my life. So you start right there. But, there's obviously something extremely fishy going on when every single legitimate cryptocurrency company has gone in and spent years working with the SEC. Brad has been in there 5 times. Brian Armstrong's been in there 30 times in 1 year alone. And these guys, with all this money and all these connections, can't get the SEC approvals. And then these guys, out of nowhere, come in and get, like I always say, Abs, if it smells like a fish and it flops like a fish, something fishy's going on. And so we don't have the details what's going on, but something will definitely come out about this a year or two later. We'll find out how sewery and smelly this really thing is. It's really, really bad. But at the end of the day, you said it. They needed an ally. Well, here's an ally, and he's going out there and bashing Ripple, and oh, they should have done this, they should have done that, blah, 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 blah. The reality is, hey, I like to say to him, Terry Silver, you know what? They did try to do that. They all did go in there and try to work with the SEC. And they came out, instead of getting answers, they got a lawsuit. So this thing's a whole, it's just bad. It looks really, really bad for the industry. And I do hope that at some point it blows back on them. But, I'm not so sure it's going to.
Crypto High Roller, I'd love to hear from you as well, but I want to remind people that on the SEC's website, they're telling exchanges to fill out a form that doesn't exist. They're telling exchanges to go and fill out an application that when you go and try to fill it out correctly, it doesn't correspond to crypto. So an example of that would be one of the questions on there, and me and Johnny always laugh about this. One of the questions on there is how many stocks or how many shares do you intend to issue? Well, obviously that can't apply to a crypto token. So I do want to get some thoughts from Crypto High Roller. Floor is yours, my friend.
Hello, everyone. I want just to share a little bit. I'm really fighting against Gary Gensler. I want to highlight one thing he said during his nomination hearing. What he promised. He was saying under oath. He was saying that he would facilitate innovation in digital currency. He would work with the Congress and with CFTC to facilitate innovation while being technology neutral. Is he doing that? No.
No.
So, no, for sure, no. So he lied what he was going to do. He's doing the opposite. He lied during his nomination hearing. The Congress approved his nomination because he said he would do something. He is doing the opposite. So what we so he needs to be fired. The Congress needs to be make him responsible. You said you would do this. You are doing the opposite. Why? Why are you not working with us? And like he is not the ultimate boss that can do anything he wants. No, he said what he was doing on the oath. The Congress needs to approve. So I'm in this Gensler community. I invite everyone to look because I think this is not something he is doing alone. This is all from the bullshit of anti-crypto army. He is doing this to get a better job after. And like I know many people believe that lobbying is how we should, but I don't think we can fight. My personal opinion is that we can't fight just with lobby. We need to get media attention and like say we want the people want the Congress to stop him. Look what he promised. He's doing the opposite. And how can we force? It's not. We can't stop him. He is not working for the people. He is nominated by the president. But what we can do is we can force the Congress. How can we do that? Getting media attention, saying he lied. He is doing the opposite what he promised. The Congress must make him accountable for what he promised this nomination. So I invite everyone. I know many people think a token is not necessary for a protest. I want just to say, I view this community that we are all here as a way to get media attention. How can you get media attention without a token? Think about this. It's not easy to get on Bloomberg webpage. So our project is like we are GameStop or Web3. I just want to highlight that. And like I know many people have different opinions. Some think, oh, we need to talk with them, lobby. But Coinbase is doing this for 1 year. We need to really protest. And nowadays, I don't think it's easy to protest, to get media, to take people to streets, but we are trying to make an alternative, a financial protest that will get media attention and expose his bullshit.
I completely agree. And I'm going to tie this back to an interview that we had with Jeremy Hogan. Thank you so much for bringing that up, Crypto High Roller. You dropped a bunch of gems there. And guys, be sure to check out our waitlist, Merlin, 30 days absolutely free. The link is pinned at the top of this. So if you're interested, smartest way to track your crypto, check out the profile. But Johnny, when we were interviewing Jeremy Hogan, he brought up something very important, which is prior to 2020, there were a bunch of crypto companies approaching people like him to try and apply with the SEC to operate in the US, right? Ever since that date, we've seen a complete 180 where companies, they're deciding to register in the UAE, they're deciding to register in London, in Asia. And so I think it highlights a much bigger issue where the United States can't even shut down crypto. If Elizabeth Warren wanted to shut down crypto, if Gary Gensler wanted to shut down this technology, they don't have the capability to do so. So in saying that it can't operate here, you're only pushing that money into other economies. So maybe you can elaborate on that, Johnny.
No, Ab, you nailed it so head on again. And what frustrates me the most, and what should frustrate every single American, is that every time they continue to fight this US, do you know what that really means in simple terms? Anybody want to take a guess? What basically that means is you just lost another job. That's another job that could have been here in the US and now has been pushed outside the US. Hundreds of thousands of jobs have already been shipped over, or have started, I should say, overseas in Hong Kong or in Dubai or in Singapore, wherever they're, all these different locations where they're starting up crypto. Because of why? Because the number one innovating country in the world has said, we're not going to let that happen here. And that has been that. I just like to look at what's the end result. Well, a lot of people lost a lot of jobs that could, and I shouldn't say lost jobs. What I mean is these new jobs, okay, that would have been created here, abs in the US, are not going to be created here in the US. These jobs are going to be created outside. You're going to now have other countries creating the technology that's going to drive the next 100 years. That was the
They're
US
also going to
goal.
create the education funnels. They're going to create the education funnels, Johnny. And I don't mean to cut you off, but I think it's so important. China right now just started training 500,000 crypto-specific people. So they're going to graduate with crypto degrees, while over here we can't even decide what we should sue and what we should let work.
No, over here we're training people to figure out whether you're a male or a female, right? That's what we're now. Kids are just trying to figure out what they are, and these kids over here in the other countries, they're going to be sitting there creating technology that drives the future. That's how sad it is. That's the part that hurts me the most, is seeing all the potential jobs that could have been here, that our children and our grandchildren could have been getting and driving, creating the technology of the future that's going to drive the world. And I'm not, and Tony, tell me if you disagree, but we kind of know blockchain is going to be the future, but yet you're not going to have anybody in the US who knows how to do it. Because guess what? Why go to school for something you can't get a job for? Just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, absolutely agree. It's unbelievable when you think about it. And I just think if we had done this to the internet, would have been in the US or overseas, right? And Amazon and so forth. And what we're doing right now is pretty unbelievable. But my hope is that, at some point we're not too far gone and Congress can act and save this. But I'm hearing a lot of companies leaving. I know a lot of investors are already setting up shop in overseas. So some who are like, for example, well, actually, I can't give names, but I'm trying to get them on the podcast. They're like, yeah, we don't want to talk or say anything right now. My lawyers are saying, no, don't want to do it, because they don't know if they're going to get attacked by some regulator or something, because there's no clarity.
Justin, I just saw you were up here as a speaker as well. Feel free to jump into the conversation here. Thanks for coming up.
Yeah, thanks, man. I just wanted to say, I heard about the Kaplan thing. I came in at the last. I don't think. I do think that's all bullshit. I think that's all set up to where I think at some point they're trying to make it look like, you know what I mean? Like they got it, they know what they're doing, and they got everything under control. And I think it's somewhere in the back door, he's talking to Senator Elizabeth Warren. And with this whole BlackRock filing for the ETF and this coming out, and they're putting a rush on it for the SEC, I want to know what people's thoughts are. And Gary Gensler trying to push that out with everything that just already got, like Grayscale, that got denied. Like, how are you going to come out and say another company's going to get an ETF, but you just told the other one no, but you got all this going on with Coinbase and Binance and trying to push everybody out of the country and crypto out of the United States. And like, it has to be all inside job. And I don't know exactly what his full intentions are, but I feel like he's just holding everything back to help his buddies out the bank till they can get the bottom and they can get as much as they can. And then all of a sudden he'll walk away and it'll look like he was a savior for the banks. And then everything just gets hush hush. And now you got all this crap going with Sam Bankman-Fried, them dropping all the charges. Dude, that's all bullshit. It's all inside, and they're all part of it, and it's just destroying freaking the United States. Is bullshit.
You're spot on, Justin. Tony, I think you're the perfect person to respond to that. I'm gonna give my 2 cents right after, but thank you, Justin. You made some great points. Oh, I think we lost Tony there.
And by the way, I do want to say, like Crypto said earlier, I'm also a part of the Gensler community. If you can see on my screen, I actually got the Gensler tatted on me. I did it for the community. It said Gensler for life.
That's for life, baby. That's for life.
I am so freaking dedicated to the community, because when you have a community, and if it's just not a Gensler or if it's Merlin or whatever crypto it is, if we all fight together, if every crypto project gets together, the ones that are going to stick around, that are the diehards, and you care about crypto, we will win. Because like he said, when we get on the media, oh my God, is he going to look like the stupidest guy in the world? And eventually at some point, Congress is going to have to step in and say, you know what, you got to go, dude, because you're making us look bad.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. And as Mark Lesko says, the good news is we've already won, because we know how the battle works. We know the 4 stages. The 4 stages are: first they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they fight you, which is the stage we're in right now. And then the 4th stage is, as Mark says, and I wish he was around tonight, then they join you. It's only we're headed to the then they join you stage. But what you're seeing happening is exactly what you just said. They're slowing the thing down. They're letting the boys get in place. All the big boys are going to get all their they're all their fingers into this thing, and then they're going to let this son of a bitch fly like you ain't never seen it fly before. And crypto will be the next thing the best thing since sliced bread. They'll be telling you how great it is, but it isn't going to happen until they're in position to profit off of it. And that's what we're seeing right now. Remember, here, we're all early, right? There's 6% of the world invested in crypto right now. 6%. There's 55% of the world invested in the stock market. So there's still 49% of people potentially come into this space. So don't forget, we're in this thing so early that I know for all of us, it feels like we're late. We're like, Jesus Christ, how long is this on? Well, let me tell you something about technology. It takes a long, long time for adoption. Internet started back in 1994, right? Amazon started back then. Didn't become as big as it is until now. So these things take a long time to happen. But it's only a matter of time before this technology and this becomes the 12th sector of our economy. And we're just watching it. We're watching the sausage being made. And it's ugly seeing sausage made, but it sure damn tastes good when it's done. So just hang in there. I encourage everybody, don't get footed out. Be patient. Know what you own. And invest in, do your research. Invest in what you feel are the right technologies that solve real world uses. And boy, I think it's going to pay off in the long run.
And then I want to say one more thing about Coco, because Coco is a part of the community with Gensler. Dude, I'm telling you, Coco is a freaking beast. Dude is on point with his shit. He knows what he's talking about, and I got nothing but love for Coco. I mean, that guy is good at what he's talking about.
Shout out to Coco. I'll definitely be messaging him after this. And I do see we have one more request here, guys. So I'm going to leave it up to our host if we want to take that. If not, I'm going to close it out here. Oh,
let's take.
Okay, guys, I'm getting word we're going to close it out here. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining us tonight. Happy Father's Day. We'll see you guys. We're going to be on here every 2 weeks. Thank you to Chappella. Thank you to Justin. Thank you to Coco for jumping up here. And we'll see you guys in about 2 weeks.
Yeah, send you guys a follow.
Thank you, Justin. We appreciate that. Have a great weekend, everybody, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks.
Thanks so much for joining this Merlin Spaces. Once again, our special guest was Tony Edward. You can follow him right here on Twitter at ThinkingCrypto1. Watch him on YouTube with his other 124,000 subscribers at Thinking Crypto. You can also follow him on Facebook at Thinking Crypto. You can listen to his content on Apple Podcasts and check out all of his amazing content and follow him at thinkingcrypto.com. Give our host Abs one more round of applause. He is our customer engagement specialist here at Merlin. You can see him every Monday through Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern on the Good Morning Crypto Show on 3T Warrior Academy YouTube channel. You can follow him at 3TM Crypto. You can also find Johnny Crypto there most days as well on the Good Morning Crypto Show. You can find Johnny Crypto on Twitter at JohnnyCrypto00. My name is Jeremy Quintanilla. I am your moderator and one of the co-founders of Merlin along with Johnny Crypto. You can follow me on Twitter at Age of Jeremy. This concludes our Merlin Twitter Spaces. We will be back in 2 weeks. Have a great day. Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to the Merlin Crypto Market Update located on the X app. I'm Abs, your host and Senior Engagement Officer at Merlin, and we hope you enjoyed this episode from our Merlin X Spaces. Remember, you can catch us live every other Tuesday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern on the X app at Get Merlin Crypto. If you want to take your crypto tracking to the next level, don't miss out on our free 30-day trial at merlincrypto.com. Thanks again for listening, and we'll catch you in the next episode.